On February 2026, the United States and Israel launched large-scale strikes on Iran, initiating a 40-day war. The conflict disrupted global energy markets and triggered a wave of missile exchanges across the wider region. This escalation began with a decapitation strike on the very first day, the assassination of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. By March, the impact reached the global economy. Iran's official closure of the Strait of Hormuz effectively blocked 1/5 of the world's oil and LNG supply, causing prices to spike as shipping traffic plummeted. To break the deadlock, President Trump issued an ultimatum with a deadline of 8 p.m. on April 7th. He threatened the destruction of Iran's power plants and bridges if the strait was not immediately and safely reopened. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif stepped in at the final hour to broker a 2-week pause. But this rapid diplomatic intervention settled the immediate deadline without resolving the underlying causes of the war. Washington framed the ceasefire as a result of Operation Epic Fury. The White House cited satellite imagery of destroyed industrial sites as evidence that they had already dismantled Iran's critical military capabilities. In Tehran, the narrative was reversed. Iranian state media declared a crushing defeat for the U.S. and Israel, claiming that their military resistance had forced Washington to accept a peace plan on Iran's terms. These contradictory success stories allow both governments to maintain domestic support after weeks of intense fighting. This creates a truce where neither side feels a political need to compromise. If both parties believe they have already won, the actual negotiations face an immediate hurdle. The first major obstacle is physical control of the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. demands freedom of navigation, immediately reopening the waterway without Iranian interference. Iran's plan proposes the opposite, continued military management of the strait and collecting transit fees. On the economic front, the U.S. is using sanctions as conditional leverage, offering relief only in exchange for verified Iranian compliance. Iran is demanding the total removal of all primary and secondary sanctions, alongside full financial reparations for the damage caused by U.S. and Israeli strikes. This creates a framework where the core disputes over global oil passage and financial survival are fundamentally at odds before the talks even begin. The second fault line involves the long-term military and nuclear presence in the region. The American position is a nuclear red line. Washington requires a permanent freeze on all uranium enrichment and the physical removal of any nuclear material currently buried in Iran. Tehran maintains its right to domestic enrichment as non-negotiable. Furthermore, they are calling for the total withdrawal of all U.S. combat forces from Middle Eastern bases. This zero-sum standoff means that a failure to reach a nuclear compromise could collapse the entire diplomatic track, regardless of progress on shipping or sanctions. While the direct military strikes on Iranian soil have temporarily paused, the ceasefire was designed with strict territorial limits. The U.S. and Israel maintain that this is a bilateral truce with Iran only. This interpretation allows the Israeli military to continue its invasion of southern Lebanon and its campaign against Hezbollah. Consequently, Israeli airstrikes hit multiple neighborhoods in the heart of Beirut during the Wednesday morning rush hour, killing over 250 people. Iran views these attacks on its regional allies as a violation of the deal's spirit, with Tehran's parliament speaker already accusing the U.S. of failing to meet the agreed terms. The situation demonstrates the difficulty of maintaining a localized bilateral ceasefire while the broader regional proxy war continues to escalate. On April 10, 2026, the focus shifts to Pakistan, where high-level delegations are arriving for Phase 2 of the negotiations. The American team, led by special envoys including Jared Kushner, is tasked with turning this 2-week pause into a permanent settlement. Washington faces a deep trust deficit, fearing that Iran is using the 14-day window to reorganize its forces and move closer to a nuclear breakout. Tehran operates with equal skepticism, pointing to past U.S. withdrawals from international agreements and the continued presence of American bombers in the region. The Islamabad talks face a literal 14-day deadline to prove that a shattered diplomatic framework can prevent the Middle East from returning to total war.